Hey everybody, Smarty771 here with another video. And today I'm going to just speak unscripted about a topic that actually I've been thinking about for a while now. And that is specifically, did the fans kill Star Wars? Now I'm going to let you think about that for a second. Did the fans kill Star Wars? So let's start back. In 1977, when Star Wars, original, just Star Wars was released, it was a smash hit. And the subsequent movies, Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, were also big hit movies, and they were received very well by their audience. Then later on in the 90s, when Episode 1 came out, the original Star Wars fans were really disappointed for a multitude of factors that I really am not going to go into detail talking about here today. But they were unhappy. And then Episode 2 came out, and they were even less happy. Then Episode 3 came out, and that is, in my opinion, that is my third favorite Star Wars movie. When Episode 3 came out, they were still unhappy, but not as unhappy as Episodes 1 and 2. The fans gave George Lucas such a hard time about that. You know, they were all over him. They were just, when the internet was coming of age back in the 90s, early 2000s, they were just talking so much crap about how this isn't Star Wars, this isn't the Star Wars I grew up. A lot like people with the president. This isn't my Star Wars. And they were just criticizing nonstop George Lucas. And, you know, there was a interview or I think I remember some paparazzi thing a while ago where someone ran up to George and like, hey, are you going to make any more Star Wars movies? And he was like, why would I make any more Star Wars movies if you guys are just going to hate on them, or if no one's going to like them, or if no one liked the last one? So he was totally discouraged. George Lucas was totally discouraged due to the reaction, the overwhelmingly negative reaction to the fan base of Star Wars. Now fast forward to only a few years ago where George Lucas sold Star Wars to Disney for an ungodly amount of money. Now, at first glance, when you look at that, when I at least looked at that the first time and I saw the news, I was like, hey, you know, this sucks, but maybe we're going to get some new Star Wars movies out of this. I can't wait to be part of, you know, the new Star Wars universe, the new Star Wars trilogy. Little did I know at the time, but when that was fresh news, I was beyond excited. I was ready. I was totally ready for more Star Wars because I was a huge Star Wars fan, played all the video games that I could get my hands on when I was growing up. And now that I was an adult, I was like, oh man, you know, EA is going to make new games and Disney's going to make new movies. It's a whole new generation of Star Wars. Okay, well, let me go back. Let me go back to talking about George Lucas selling it to Disney. Like I just said, at first glance, it seemed like a good thing, but now that I look back at it, he probably sold it to Disney because he knew if he tried to make any more movies, the fans were just going to attack it like they had before. They didn't like his idea of Star Wars, so he just sold it to somebody that promised him that they could do it better. My opinion is that he felt like he couldn't make Star Wars movies anymore because of the fan backlash at him for the last three. He just felt discouraged, like his creativity just wasn't going to be good enough for people who love Star Wars. So he sold it to somebody else. So there's one example of fans that have just driven the franchise from George Lucas's hands into Disney's. Now we're going to fast forward from there into where Star Wars The Force Awakens comes out. And it is received to mixed reviews. I liked it when it came out, personally. I didn't think that it was as good as Revenge of the Sith, but I still thought it was a good movie, and I was like, okay, we got new characters, we got new plot direction, Luke Skywalker. I can't wait until the next movie. And then The Last Jedi is announced, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And then when Rogue One came out, my mind was blown. That movie is awesome, Rogue One. I love that movie. Rogue One is just like the best. That I could watch that movie over and over again. I like it so much. And then The Last Jedi is announced, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see what happens next, because The Force Awakens actually got me excited for what was going to happen next. I don't think anything could have prepared me or Star Wars fans like myself for what The Last Jedi was. And I'll say it right now. I haven't said it in any of my other videos. I've hinted at it, but I haven't actually said it. I really strongly dislike The Last Jedi for a multitude of reasons, and I'll make a whole separate video for that. But I really didn't like The Last Jedi. And I know that most Star Wars fans didn't like it either. The majority of Star Wars fans didn't like it either. Just look at all the backlash. Unless you've been a Star Wars fan living under a rock, you're going to see how upset so many people have gotten over this movie. Now, I'm not going to go say that I hated it. I'm not like going to take the disc and scratch it up and throw it in the trash. I'll happily own a copy because, it's still Star Wars. But I just don't like it. It's not a movie, like, it's the Star Wars movie that I avoid watching, if that makes sense. So here we are, The Last Jedi comes out, and the fans just explode at it. It creates such a divide in the Star Wars community. There's people that love it, and there's people that hate it, and both of them are just saying horrible things about the other group. So then the dust kind of settles on that, and then Solo comes out and bombs at the box office. I mean, it does well, but for a Star Wars movie, it really doesn't do that great. And then we see the news after that they're possibly postponing at least their Star Wars story movies, like the Kenobi movie or a Boba Fett movie. And what? That's the last thing the fans want. That's the last thing I want. I want a Kenobi movie. And just like on the prequel meme subreddit, when they're talking about always wanting a Kenobi movie with Ewan McGregor, I'm like, yes, I would love that to happen. And then there were rumors that it was going to happen. And then this came out after Solo that they were just going to put a pause on it and focus on the next trilogy, whatever that's going to be, or the next movie that's going to be finishing up this current trilogy. And that's the fans' fault. Okay, let me reword that. It's not the fans' fault, okay? It's the fault of the direction that Disney has taken Star Wars to cause fans to lash out the way they have. Okay, because fans weren't really happy with the political virtue signaling that Last Jedi and Solo had some of it, not as much. Solo was a good movie, better than The Last Jedi. But there was definitely plenty of virtue signaling going on in both of those movies. And fans just don't want that crap in Star Wars. They just don't want it. And plus, The Last Jedi story was crap and there are useless characters. But I can't get into that right now. But as far as what the fans had to do with this are concerned, they lashed out because of what Disney did. Okay? Now, back when George Lucas was in charge of Star Wars, yes, the prequels had their issues. I made a video about it. If you want more in-depth opinions of mine on this subject, go check that video out. But George Lucas didn't stop. He still continued with his vision of Star Wars, and he took the fan feedback from episodes 1 and 2 and made episodes 3 amazing and awesome. Great storytelling, great visual effects, really good acting, and better line delivery in that movie. But now Disney's just like stopping. They're just stopping the train completely, and they're stepping back and saying, okay, the fans are ruining this. We have to find a way to continue to make money from Star Wars. Like that scare meme from The Simpsons. It is not I who is wrong, it is them who are wrong. It is not us who are wrong with our movie making, it's the fans that are wrong. Now, I'm not going to go as far to say that the fans ruined Star Wars. Okay, because that's the premise of this video. Did the fans ruin Star Wars? And I think they had a hand in it because there are toxic members in every community, but there are toxic members in the Star Wars community that go and harass actors on their social media accounts, and I don't think she deleted it because of harassment. I think she deleted it for whatever reason, but there were obviously people that were harassing her there. They gave the other side ammunition to say, oh, look at you Star Wars fans who are harassing people to quit social media. In any case, there are toxic members in the community, and you can look at them and say, why are these people putting Star Wars fans at such a bad light? And making people look at us and say they're the reason that Star Wars is slowing down. And they're the reason that the Star Wars story movies are taking a place on the back burner now. So in conclusion, I don't think the fans ruined Star Wars. I think the fans... Okay, I will come to a conclusion here. The fans are what drove Star Wars from George Lucas's hands into Disney's. But in hindsight, you can't really give them that hard of a time, those Star Wars fans that were adults and able to voice their opinions on the Star Wars movies when the prequels came out. You can't give them that hard of a time because there was no way that they would have known what Disney was about to do to the Star Wars universe. Nobody could have predicted that. In the Star Wars fans' mind then, moving Star Wars from George Lucas to somebody else was a good thing. Because they were going to get a fresh take on Star Wars because they obviously didn't like George Lucas's take with the prequels. But now that you see what Disney has done, these fans are now like, I don't think this was the right decision. So yes, the fans did drive Star Wars from George Lucas to Disney, but the fans did not ruin Star Wars after that point. This recent news is not fans' fault. It is the virtue signaling Disney Corporation and the actors and actresses and directors, Kathleen Kennedy specifically, who are ruining Star Wars now. It is not the fans, it is them. George Lucas was a whole different story, okay? That was the fans and some bad direction on George Lucas's part. I'll give him that. But the fans really, those prequels are good movies. Like, come on, guys. They're good movies. He made Star Wars different then, and it still had the same premise, the same universe, the same people, the same direction. It wasn't outlandish and it wasn't stupid. These new movies are, specifically The Last Jedi. And it's not the fans' fault that they suck. It is Kathleen Kennedy's fault and Rian Johnson's fault that they suck. So now that I've given my opinion, what do you think? Do you think the fans have ruined Star Wars? Do you think the community has caused Star Wars to have the issues it is now in these recent weeks? Let me know in the comments below. Please subscribe for more content like this. And if you enjoy the audio, I am using my new Blue Yeti microphone, so I hope it sounds better. I'm soon getting a pop filter and a stand for it, so I'm pretty excited to use it. But just let me know what you think on this topic, and I'll be sure to read your comments. Drop into my Twitch and my YouTube streams. I've been doing a playthrough of Fallout 4. You can watch those logged in my stream playlist. So check that out if you'd like. Thank you for checking in. This is Smarty771 signing off.